All right, class, this is some of the first steps in starting assembling our mobile. So as you can see, I kind of cut out my plan for the mobile and I've painted most of the shapes. We're just starting here. But when you start building your mobile, you're going to build it from the bottom up. So I'm going to start with these two, then this one, and so on. So a couple things. First, before you glue these rods, you insert them into your foam core, make sure you get the clip on there. And then make sure you make enough clips. So it's really beneficial to have all your clips made ahead of time. So I need to have, 8, 9, 10 clips already made. Here's a clip that I already made that's gonna slide onto the bar. So I'm gonna do that first. We'll slide it onto the bar here. And if you notice my rods, I curved them because my shapes are really curved. Now right now this clip is really loose. You can see it's pretty loose now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my pliers and I'm just gonna pinch it right here so that it grabs onto that bar. Oop, I didn't mean to break it off. It just broke off, but I think it'll still be okay. So I'm gonna pinch it onto the bar, just pinch it right in this little area right here. I guess don't be Hercules like I just was here. So now that's pretty tight. So you can see it doesn't slide very easy. I want it to be pretty stiff, okay? So it doesn't slide very easy. I'm gonna take my little pliers here, my little wire cutters, I should say, and I'm gonna clip this excess wire off right there. So this piece comes off. And once again, I think I will pinch this just a little bit tighter onto the bar so it grabs my bar pretty tight. Oh, mine's loose again. Let's try that again. Let's go right in here and pinch that down. Okay, so that's pretty tight. Now, before you glue these in, I would insert them in the angle that you want them to be. So in my case, I want one to go in about here, and the other one I'm going to insert into here kind of like that. So that's my plan for this one, okay? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay those down, and I'm going to glue them. So what I'm going to do is use just a little bit of hot glue. Here's my hot glue gun, and I'm going to take it out of here. I'm going to put a little bit of hot glue right in that hole right there. Just a little bit. That way I can insert my rod in while that glue is still hot. Okay? And then I'll do the same thing on this side. I'll put just a little bit of glue right in that hole. Okay? And then I will insert it back into the same hole. And I'll let that cool off a little bit, okay? And then I'll probably, in the meantime, I'm gonna let that cool off and harden. In the meantime, I'm gonna put a clip on this bar so I can get this one going. And you, to save time, I'll say assembly line. Assembly line means do all your similar functions at the same time. So it probably would be a good idea to first make all your clips. Second, put all your clips on your bars. Third, trim all your clips. Fourth, start inserting your rods into your shapes and the angle that you want them to be. So I'm clipping this excess off right now. Clip that off. Okay, let's clip this side off. I'm using my small wire cutters because that works nice in those little tiny spots. Pinching this really tight again onto here. Okay, that's pretty good. Oh, it's still kind of loose. Probably want to get a little bit tighter. It should be snug so that when you, so that this thing will be really stiff. It won't slide easily, okay? So this is ready to go. I think I'm gonna insert this one in over here. Oh, I went a little too far. Let's go and put some hot glue into that hole. Into the hole. So I'm pumping that hole with some hot glue. Inserting that in. I went a little nuts with the hot glue here. Well, live and learn, okay? So here we go. We'll let that cool off. Okay, now I'm ready to start putting my thing together. So what I'm gonna do here, you can see this now is pretty stiff, and I need to find the balancing point on this. Now the balancing point could be, you could make it balance completely straight and even, or you could purposely balance it on an angle. So what I mean by that, let's take a look here. I'm just gonna go like this. So here's my bar, and I'm gonna take maybe a little rod like this, and you can see if I put that here, you can see it balances on quite an angle. So I'm gonna slide this over to a better spot. Now let's try it again. Okay, and you see that's balancing pretty good now, okay? It's about where I want that to be. So I know that is a good spot to balance it at, okay? Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna solder it in place. Now, I'm gonna show you how to do that. So I'm gonna set this right here. Here it is, ready to be soldered. Now, to solder, once again, you're gonna need your solder. Okay, ready to solder. A couple things I'm gonna need. I'm gonna need my flux, first of all, and I'm gonna pour just a little bit of that into a paper cup like this. Don't mean very much at all, and as soon as you're done, we'll pour it back in there. I like to use this little block here because then this doesn't tip over. So I'm gonna take my solder, my flux, and I'm gonna flux, and I put a lot of flux right here where the metal is meeting. And you can't overdo that. It's not like you can put too much on there, okay? Now, I've already heated up my soldering iron, and that's right over here. And now remember what you're gonna do when you use that soldering iron. You got a wet sponge, you're gonna really clean it on the wet sponge here. Really clean that up, okay? Next, I'm ready to solder. Let's bring it back in here. And now I'm gonna take my solder, I'm gonna come in from the side here, and I'm just gonna touch just a little bit of solder on here, okay? Just touch a little bit of solder, just enough to melt some solder. That's it, look at that. That's it, that's all I need to do, okay? You could even go with less than that. So that is now fused in place, okay? It's not gonna move. Every time you're done with this, you're gonna go back over here and clean this up before you put it in the holder, okay? Next step. Okay, so now here's my bar, and I've soldered that on there. I'm gonna hook it onto this paper clip that I have hanging here, and I can see how that's hanging, okay? Now here's my next piece that's ready to go. Oops, I bumped it here. You should have a string hanging down from the ceiling right now. I'm using this fishing line, and now I'm gonna go with my next piece. So I've already bent this ahead of time, and it's turned to the side, okay? I'm gonna unhook this. I'm gonna hook this piece on, okay? I'm gonna hook this here, and now I'm gonna see if that balances. Now right now you can see how it's balancing and it's going way up at an angle. Now you might want it to go way up at an angle, or you might say want it a little bit lower. So I'm gonna shift this down to a little lower spot until I get it in the area that I want it to be. So in this case, I'm gonna go about right there. Okay, so that looks pretty good, okay? Now, I just do the same exact thing. I'm gonna take this piece down now, and I'm gonna solder that. So this is getting kind of gangly. You're gonna get a lot of pieces kind of floating around here. So I'm just gonna unhook this temporarily, okay? I'm gonna take this off, trying not to bump or move that little ring. And then once again, I'm gonna solder this, okay? So here we go. My solder's ready to go. I put the flux on again, okay? I'm cleaning, you can't see, but I'm cleaning the tip of my soldering iron on the wet sponge. Now I'm gonna come back in here with just a little bit of solder. There you go, done. Okay, that's all it takes. And once again, I go back in here, and before I put it away, I clean off both sides of that tip and put it back in the holder, okay? Now let's see the next. Here we are again. Now this piece is hanging here, and I'm gonna hang this one up. And now the next step would be take my next rod, insert that piece in, put a clip on there, and then hook that on, and then figure out where here I need to slide that clip. So you can see, to build your mobile, you start from the bottom up and you work up, okay? And that's it.